So, I haven't seen any of this. I don't know anything about your business. Let's go. Ptp, tax credit infrastructure built for the next century of construction. Something, weirdly, I actually know more about than I should. And that's partly because a very good friend of mine, Clement Cazelot, has founded a credit financing company for industrial equipment and trade equipment in the US, which surprisingly I'd thought had already existed, but it hadn't. And he's absolutely smashing it. It's one of those boring businesses, at least in terms of classic sexiness, that is very, very powerful. If that's what this is, then it's immediately elicited this kind of affinity bias or this halo bias related to that. What's broke? Trade credit is currently invisible between merchants. Okay, trade credit is in like a customer has credit with a distributor, and then the distributor and the provider or the supplier, they're not aware of that trade credit. Is that what I mean? Okay, tradespeople are a lot to touch us. See, because of the association with my friend's business, I'm going to pay more attention to this than I would otherwise. Tradespeople are a lot into merchants, but they hand credit, losing the house per week and admin. Non-transferable finance options or buy now, pay later. Okay, there's credit issues I don't quite fully understand. The opportunity, create a platform with zero friction adoption for what? For who? For tradespeople or for merchants? Get one credit account that's accepted. Isn't that called a credit card? Clawback hours per week on admin. That sounds like a credit card to me, just a general credit card. But is it about banking credit with particular, or at least you can only use it in merchants. So it's a bit like a loyalty card or a voucher card or gift card. Or is it you go into debt and you can go into debt in as many merchants as you can. And then this is a view on all of that debt. Strange. Yeah. Either way, I like it so far. Okay, dedicated credit type. Okay, credit cards, PayPal. All right, consolidated. Okay, got it. So it's about going to debt with multiple merchants. Interesting. It does feel like the role of a credit card, though, and I'm trying to understand how this is better than a credit card. Okay, for tradespeople, universal trade credit, whatever that means. For merchants, instant credit infrastructure. Get paid instantly. So you're a bank. You're a bank. Well, if you're a bank, my brain suddenly goes to years of licensing, enormous risk. So long, unless the team, former financiers of some kind, or have some unfair advantage in the financial sector, which is common across all the successful all neobanks, Monzo, Tide. They all had very deep networks in the traditional banking sector. Why now? Regulations forcing all UK trades turning over 50k to start using real accountants. Well, okay. Interesting. Is that not true of every business? I don't know, actually. Merchants, okay. Basically, that doesn't sound like a why now. That sounds like just things. 140 billion in trade credit spent. Okay, so you go into debt to a value of 140 billion across the UK and Australia per year. I'm not going to read all those words. Far too many words. Execution traction. Okay, this matters. We've got more than a waiting list. We're accepted at 99.9% of all UK merchants. Well, if you are Visa, then of course you're accepted in 99.9% because it's Visa that's got accepted. So you are a wrapper around Visa, which is very common. Built our own API with bulk distribution methods. Merchants can use our APIs to deep integrate. So your financial infrastructure for merchants that want their own credit system. I need to know how painful this is for a merchant, because I think for the tradesperson, this doesn't really make any difference. Or if it does, it's a minor difference. For the tradespeople, I can imagine it making a big difference because you need to kind of reconcile all of these transactions based upon accounts receivables and all these other kind of things. And if you're dealing with lots of trade credit, which is very common. Okay, this isn't the kind of company I thought it was originally, but it's still interesting. It's very niche and very, I don't want to say boring, it's not a fair word. I find it interesting, but it's not sexy, so people wouldn't really be looking at this, which is exciting for an investor. I'm still interested. Alliance protecting our model with insurance. Oh, AI, ding, 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 there it is. Don't believe you. Earn when money transacts through our infrastructure. But again, you're taking a slice of the Visa fee. Right? Payment fees. This is the same as any other wrapper around a credit card. This is how Wise or TransferWise started, essentially. Rebates from merchants. So you get a kicker from the merchants when the debt is paid, I assume. Interest paid by tradesperson, 1 to 3% interest. That's below Bank of England's rate, which to me means you're not, but I can imagine you can tweak that. Too complicated, but I get the point. Accepted much, okay, capital on tap, PayPal credit. Yeah, there's lots of credit systems. Accepted as a single merchant. Accepted in multiple merchants. I just don't understand how this is any different to a credit card, other than the back-end infrastructure. I just don't get it. If it's the back-end infrastructure, which is the sole thing, that should be the hardcore, that should be the bulk, 80% of this pitch deck. I bet you didn't know that is a kind of statement that you kind of want early on in a pitch deck like this. And I'm trying to reverse engineer this and map to my own experience, which is not what a founder wants me to do. Because if I'm mapping to my own experience in something which is relatively boring and niche from a startup sexiness perspective, I find it interesting. Then I'm going to get it wrong. And I'm sure I'm getting it wrong. What? Is this Minecraft? Oh, this would be the thing that you've redacted. Well, frustratingly, it's something I'm going to have to know. Monopolizing the market, rocket-fueled go-to-market. Rocket-fueled. Okay, if you've got a rocket-fueled go-to-market approach, that means you need to show you've got some kind of traction here, other than being approved by Visa, which is a good thing, but you also need the capital to finance this debt. If you're paying these merchants, you need the capital to finance their trade debt. Then you need to factor in the risk of holding that capital and advancing that capital onto the merchant. You're a credit card. This is a credit card business with a back end. You're tied. You're not even tied, because tied isn't a credit card, it's a debit card. Raising a pre-seed round of how much? I mean, if this has got to be a huge round. Oh, this is a really tricky one. I don't know what exists. Again, this is so common in an early stage pitch deck that just really don't know what exists. And when I don't know what exists, I can't evaluate whether I should be impressed. And don't get me wrong, the idea sounds novel, but I can't, other than a back-end API for tradespeople to reconcile their accounts more easily with a unified, basically it's like building an API for Visa itself. So you can say, oh, did they actually pay? But then that's what Stripe's for. It's the whole point of Stripe. I can understand making a Stripe Visa combo for trade merchants because they're not exactly high tech. But then again, if they're not exactly high tech, it means the barrier to adoption is going to be very high, which means that you need to work very closely with the Zeros, the QuickBooks, and whomever else that they use that HMRC mandated software. It's too complicated. There are too many things, unanswered questions from this pitch deck without any evidence of what actually exists. That makes me go, oh, what about the founders? It's the founders. If the founders are impressive, I'd take a meeting. There's nothing about the founders. Nah, wouldn't take a meeting. Wouldn't take a meeting.
We're on page before founders.
Page what?
Page before on the right.
Well, that shows you that doesn't work.
I'll put it.